But this little area is really interesting here. You can see a distinct layer down about 2 feet or so, give or take a little bit. And it really changes color right up through here. It's pretty dark in through there. It looks like there's some charcoal in there. It's definitely a different layer. Something was going on in this layer. Now out of this layer are all of these rocks falling out of it. And you can see they've all kind of fallen down here along the bank. Like I said, somebody could have been in here digging. I wouldn't be surprised at some point, because it seems kind of more so dug out in that layer where the rocks are falling out of. But I did find some stuff that I think are scrapers, the type of scrapers, cutters, knives, hand tools. I see a pattern to what I was finding. This stuff that's sticking out, you can almost see this little piece right here, as a matter of fact. Looks like a little scraper. And usually these pieces are buried together, several at a time. Oh, see if I can chip that away. Like I said, most of these I've been finding are like in pairs, or a couple of 2 or 3 that are together that are seem to be made by the same hand. But I think most of these are just what you'd call little, camp tools, stuff around the camp that you would use. Boy, that's sharp right there. You could almost cut yourself on that if you ain't careful. There we go. But that seems like what I've been seeing. Pretty sure it is. Same material. A little different, but like choppers. You can almost see where it's worked right there. You can see the blade, how it's got that curve to it. Pretty typical. Hard to see if you're not looking for it, and but when you really start looking, you can almost see the wear marks. I mean, if you were going to do some chopping, here's your blade right here. From that angle, you can almost see it. Once I get that dirt off and I compare it to the other tools I found, you'll see the, I think y'all will see the pattern. I think these are tools a lot of people would overlook as just rock, because at first sight it does just look like a rock, but once you figure out how they would have held these, suddenly they feel like almost perfect fit. You can see where this is notched here to fit that part of the hand, wherever part of the hand. And it was either that the tool would have been used like this, or maybe this was just necessary in the making process of the tool. Because so if you're knapping and you're taking off product along through here, trying to work this blade down, you have to have a firm grip on it. You can't just kind of hold it like this. It would need to be held in such a way that you could go along, and once you see that, it's like, wow, that that makes complete sense. And this to me seems like the type of tool that would be ideal for skinning a deer, because you could use some blunt force with this, and ripping and tearing down, you could cut something pretty serious. It's like ripping the skin off of a deer, or trying to cut through some ligament of a bone. So anyways, that's my thought on it. But there's more of this stuff here, and it all seems to follow along. As you can see, this dark area through here, all up through here, and then just all this stuff falling out. Alright, let me set this tool down here. I just pulled this little piece out right beside this one, but if you look at it closely, it has the hallmarks of a little scraper. Very similar to the other tools I've been finding. I don't know for sure, but I'm not an archaeologist, but I feel like I'm seeing a pattern with how these are made. You can definitely see this little layer though has a lot of little Like that almost looks like it could be a little piece of pottery maybe. But I really need to sift this, I guess, a little bit at some point and see what's in here. So you find these tools together in a little cache like this. It's just, I guess, it's a campsite. And that looks like a typical type scraper I've seen before. Possibly. Take a look at it though. And that right there does look like a nice little scraper. I had one like this yesterday, and it's just a little chip, like little thin chip, sharp as can be. Yeah, this looks a lot like the one I found yesterday, but once you get the dirt off, you can start to see how they've been worked. Put that down in my little tub there. You can see all this stuff is coming out together. And what's interesting is each piece appears to have some type of a blade on it, or part of a blade like that. To me, definitely looks like it's something that's been worked right there. You see, to me that looks like a very typical little type tool. Once you hold it up and look at it, there's just so much of this stuff I can't keep all of it. And it's like it was all piled up here. Just being fun to find something else of a little different variety coming out of here. Alright there folks, I pulled this little, still kind of digging here in this same area, down a little deeper I think. I hit a little, kind of a little cluster of a few tools there I think that kind of follow the same pattern I've seen over and over again. For these little hand blades that are thick in the black and fit thick in the back, fit your hand perfectly. And then they give you a nice little blade right there. So anyways, see what else is in here. Kind of see how they relate to each other when they come out together like this. I guess you could say, oh well, Mother Nature just broke them up like that and put them in one place, and such as that, and that's why you have a cluster of them. But not sure about that piece. It's interesting. Some of this stuff is real chippy, and it seems like it's a workable substance, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's, again, it's a real similar thing. Thick in the back, stop for your finger, spot that's been thinned out for your thumb, good little spot for your palm of your hand. Most of the tools I see seem to be left-handed, but then you've got that exposed curved blade that you see over and over again. If you look at it from right there, you can see if you were cutting meat, of course this is, you know, probably not in pristine condition, but if you can see that serration right there, if you had those all the way down the blade, which probably was at one time, something like that, just that it's almost like a serrated knife, and with enough energy coming down to skin a hide off of a deer while somebody else is pulling and you're doing this, would be an effective way. And I see this over and over again. Fits the hand so perfect where you could just all day, and it seems almost like it's made where you work back towards yourself. Also, if this tool, when it was made, you can see to get this, all this material off, the person napping is going to have a firm grip, and that could be part of the reason that that they're made this way, so that the person who's making the tool can have a firm grip on it, and when you strike that, it's not going to move. you know, and you can work this edge, you can work that edge, but I think you'll see once this is cleaned up. I mean, again, at first glance looks like a rock, but once you really look at it, so I'm going to put this with the rest of the stuff, take that back, study up on it a little bit. This looks like a big chopper to me, and again, it fits very well in the hand right there. If you needed to chop something, this would do it. Alright folks, something just crawled up here. I don't know where he came from. I didn't dig him out. He came from way down here. I don't think I dug him out. Boy, he's an interesting little salamander. Let's see. Uh-oh. Sorry, little buddy. I'm going to move you out of the way so you don't become part of the excavation. Oh, sorry about that. We'll get you over here and find you another little spot. We don't know if you need to be in the water or where you need to be, but you don't need to be part of the excavation here, so we're going to move you on out. And say go on that way. Find yourself somewhere to go. There he goes. Safe and sound. Alright folks, we're going to dig right in here for another second or two. And it looks like there might be another little scraper right here. Yeah, it's just littered with this stuff here at this level. See that right there? Looks like a typical little cutting tool you see over and over, a little micro blade. If you look at it, it's really no different than the bigger ones. Once you get it in your hand, you can see that blade, and you can see how they're almost always curved a little bit. So you had some chopping, cutting right there. See how that's basically to the end of the knife right there. Little micro blade, of course it's coming right out of the same spot these others came out of. Put that back right there. So anyways, and right in here amongst all this, you see the little flakes, evidence of the napping. Again, this is a fairly fragile material. I'm guessing that you know, they use this because this is all they had. But you can see the thinness of that little piece right there. It's, to me, there's no doubt that it's can't break it. Some of this stuff will fool you. There's a lot of shell in this area. I mean, I probably could break that. It's wafer thin. But I could also cut something really well. If you look at that blade right there, if you were cleaning a small animal, fish, something like this could be pretty good at, you know, going up the adipose or up the gut of the fish and cleaning a small fish. Anyway, we'll put that with this other stuff. Of course, you can see a lot of these little flakes. That's part of the shell. A lot of shell in here. That'll kind of fool you. But there's something right there. Let's see if we can get that out without messing it up. It almost looks like one of those kind of chopper scraper thingies I've been finding. I'm not going to take a chance on it quite yet. Piece of charcoal right there, maybe. That's what it looks like, a little charcoal mixed in with that. Possibly. Huh. Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those little scrapers, maybe. Possibly. Yeah, I think probably so. Slightly different variations, but I definitely think I can see how that was worked. Let's study that one a little bit right there. I don't know if it's right like that. Sure does seem to fit the hand awful good. You can see how that could have been useful for chopping, just as a chopper. Possible. We'll have to look at it a little bit here. Not sure about that one. Alright folks, I pulled out this little knife, chopper, cutter, whatever you want to call it. Seems to fit the same pattern of other stuff I've found. A lot of times you'll see a notch here where maybe it could have been cinched to a, to something to expose that nice, beautifully thin blade right there. But you can see how it's been worked. At least I can. Maybe I don't, know what I'm looking at. But it almost follows the same pattern. You have a stop back here, basically. An area that seems to be good for the thumb and all the fingers to rest. Again, I think it may have something to do with when the piece was made, because to nap these things, you would have to have a firm grip on it right there. And so you almost have to make it in a way where you can hold it while you're making it, to get that little edge right there that's like a, I don't know, I guess you best call it a serrated knife when it comes down to it, because of this material. It's not like flint. It's not going to work like flint. It's not going to be as durable, but it's plentiful. And if it's plentiful, then there you go. You work as long as you can, keep resharpening it as you go, and cut away. Alright, just want to show you this little scraper. I believe, yeah. This seems pretty typical. I've got quite a few that look like this. I'll try to show you some of these others. In a way, at first it doesn't make much sense. It just looks like, well, it's Mother Nature's way. She just accidentally created that little tip right there, that little knife right there. She did that. That's what you would think. But if that was the case, then it still could be useful. But the thing about this is it fits the hallmark. It's got a balance point right there. You can see how that right there is half of the way. It's a balance point. Stop point for the top finger. A little area here, you can see how that's worked down there for the thumb. And then what you wind up with is that blade. That little blade right there. And you got a firm grip on it, which is very important, because these blades are not real sharp because of the material. It's not like flint where you can almost get them razor sharp, but they can be made sharp enough when freshly sharpened, I believe, to where they would be beneficial for small work. I'm not sure, just any kind of around camp type thing, because I've seen this over and over again, this same little tool right here. And that's my thought anyways. Alright, and right here I just pulled this out. This is a typical thing I see a lot. Again, at first you don't think much of it, but I've seen this with this notch. Maybe that notch just occurs naturally, but again, it looks pretty obvious to me that it's the knife. It's that same blade, which almost always has a curvature to it, that I think relates to how it's made, possibly. Be able to nap that out. But that's a little different. Whether or not this was in the process of becoming a knife, I'm not sure. It kind of makes more sense as a right-handed knife, and I think that's the case. Because right here, boy, it really feels good in the hand. Place for the thumb that appears to be notched out right there. right here, notched out for this little finger. And then, you know, what do you have exposed? Basically a knife. Of course, the edge has some damage to it, but basically, you know, it's primitive and crude, but you have to figure not everybody had the resources to have the fine materials of flint and, you know, the better materials, and you had to use what you had. And if this worked, it worked. And just because it doesn't necessarily look the same, but if you look close, you can start to see how these things will work, where these little notches were purposely put in there for that finger. This right here was notched out, a place for the thumb to rest comfortably, because you got to figure you're working for hours and hours with this all day long. It has to fit the hand. It cannot be something that's uncomfortable to hold, you know. And so I don't know. Anyways, we're going to take a closer look at it here. I'm looking at this area I'm digging here, and it's really way deeper than I thought. If you look at this edge right here, from here down to here, it looks like about 2 feet. But if you look up and you go to where it plateaus off up there, if you were to come across and then measure down at the kind of the highest point where this little area plateaus off up here, you'd be looking at a depth more like 4 or 5 feet deep, right in through here probably, I would say, just kind of guessing. So we're down pretty far. I'd say definitely into the Archaic period, maybe, I don't know. So but all these rocks and what I think are tools seem to alright, folks, I just pulled this out of here, and this has the similar look to a lot of the other stuff I found here recently. Looks like it could be a big chopper in the making. It's like it's not quite there yet, but it looks like it was the beginning of one. I mean, it could be used the way it is, but I think the idea would have been here to at this side you're looking at here would have needed to have been worked down a lot more, and then it would have exposed that thin blade. But you can see how he's already got this part halved it out. Then it'd just be a matter of coming down and working that edge. Not sure, I have to look at that a little closer and see. So kind of like a preform, the beginning stages of making a... Alright, folks, still out here kind of digging around. I don't know what I'm finding, but I'm finding stuff that to me seems to have been worked. This little piece has a lot of the, you know, the overall look of a nice little cutter, scraper. You know, I'm not sure what you'd call that, but it just seems to me to fit that look. You know, flake turned into a tool. You can see that would have provided a pretty good edge. It's fairly hollow, fairly hard. It's not breaking. So you could, you know, skinning an animal possibly. Anyways, we'll take it home, clean it up, look at it a little closer, and see if we can see anything that